Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner,
Excused.
Coleman,
There he is.
Coleman, Cutter, Danielson,
Excused.
Exum, Fields,
Excused.
Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez,
Excused.
Hanson, Hinrichsen. Who was here? Hinrichsen,
Excused.
Jaquez Lewis, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundeen, Marchman, Moreno, Mullica,
Excused.
Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger, Danielson. I don't see anybody else. Call the president. Mr. President.
Here. The morning roll call is 30 present, 0 absent, 5 excused. We do have a quorum. Will the good senator from Newcastle sing us a little ditty?
Sorry, I got meatballs. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal, Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate Journal of Saturday, May 6, 2023 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. Senate Services.
May 7, 2023, correctly revised. House Bill 1084, 1146, 1147, 1174, 1190, 1194, 1200, 1220, 1258, and 1309, correctly re-revised. House Bill 1069, 1112, 1120, 1135, 1147, 1189, 1198, 1253, 1257, 1260, 1265, 1273, 1277, and 1281.
Message from the House.
May 6, 2023, Mr. President, House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the revisor of statute Senate Bill 5476, 285, 199, 34, 197, 173, and 88 amended as printed in House Journal May 3, 2023. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the revisor of statute Senate Bills 275 and 186 amended as printed in House Journal May 4, 2023. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the revisor of statute Senate Bills 3, 295, 291, and 148 amended as printed in House Journal May 5, 2023. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the revisor of statute Senate Bill 203 amended on third reading and printed in House Journal May 6, 2023. The House has passed on third reading and returns herewith Senate Bills 14, 269, 257, 277, 281, 288, 293, 278, 289, 294, 66, 179, 209, 278, 65, 292, 299, 297, 248, 59, and 263. Upon reconsideration, the House has passed on third reading and returns herewith Senate Bill 259. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the revisor of statutes House Bill 1311.
Message from the Senate. Yeah, why am I reading a message from the Senate? Why don't I just say what the message is?
Yeah, why don't you?
Hello from the Senate.
Hello, it's me.
Have a good Sunday. Message from the reviser.
May 7, 2023, we herewith transmit without comment as amended Senate Bill 3, 34, 54, 76, 88, 97, 148, 173, 186, 199, 203, 275, 285, 291, 295, and House Bill 1311.
Will the clerk please add Senator Fields to the roll? Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1311, Representatives DeGroot, Kennedy, and Weisman, Senators Hansen and Henriksen, concerning the creation of an identical refund payment of excess state revenues from all sources as a mechanism to refund a portion of the excess state revenues for the 2022-23 state fiscal year only.
Appropriations. Wow, that's an amazing shirt. There was a New York Times article about that the other day, about Lucifer. Will the clerk please add Senator Gonzalez to the roll? I already got you.
Were you with Nick or joining a call? Nick? What's that? Okay, he's coming right now. Why don't I wait for the special?
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over the special orders calendar until later today.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the special order second reading of bills calendar will lay over until later today. Will the clerk please add Senator Henriksen to the roll? third reading of bills.
I'll lay over the Mullica bill to the end.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1200 lay over to the end of the calendar.
The motion is to lay over House Bill 1200 to the end of the calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. And House Bill 1200 will lay over to the bottom of the calendar. Third reading of bills. Will the clerk please read the title to 1309?
House Bill 1309, Representatives Herod and Snyder, Senators Huckes Lewis, concerning the restructuring of the performance-based incentive for film production in Colorado and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Senator Huckes Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1309 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1309. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Pelton B., Baisley, Lundin, Smallwood, Pelton R., with a vote of 27 ayes, 6 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1309 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Roberts, Bridges, Priola, Hanson, Winter, Cutter, oh, geez, guys. Senator Rodriguez, Sullivan. Oh, and Marchman would like to join the party. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1146?
No, that's all right. You got 20 minutes.
House Bill 1146, Representative Valdez, Senator Rodriguez, concerning a prohibition against an employer taking adverse action against an employee who accepts a gratuity and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1146 on third reading and final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I come before you today to urge a no vote still on 1146. I want to thank the senator from Denver for taking an extraordinary time out of his schedule yesterday to address some of my concerns around 1146. But I just think everybody, this is a nonpartisan issue. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, unaffiliated, Democrat. What I would ask colleagues is that all of us reflect on the world that we live in today when it comes to tipping. And don't get me wrong, I spent years and years in the hospitality business. I lived on tips as a tipped employee for most of my high school and college career. So I appreciate tipping. But my guess is, and I know I'm not the only one because I've seen enough internet memes to know that other people feel this way. You're already being asked to tip on virtually everything in society. I don't know the last time you were handed an empty paper coffee cup to go serve yourself your own coffee, and as soon as you go to pay, there's, of course, the offer for you to tip for having received the empty paper coffee cup. So this is simply the society that we live in today. But what this bill does, in my opinion, is it now takes the authority away from a business owner, a manager, a team of executives who have decided that for their business that they do not want employees taking tips. And I'm guessing they did that not because they dislike their employees or don't want their employees to earn more money. Colleagues, what I think what they're looking for is to not create two classes of people. The class of people who happens to have a wad of cash in their pocket at all times, and the people that don't happen to have a wad of cash in their pocket at that time. So if you can imagine again, like we talked about a little bit on seconds, we're not talking about people living off of tips and how they're classified. I view it that it will be it will be very much like how we described the parking lot lines. Now, I am assuming that parking lot attendants at any of our sporting events are prohibited from accepting tips. That's a guess. I have absolutely no idea. But if they weren't, I can envision very quickly a path where those who happen to have a wad of cash in their pocket get to park their car a little faster, or park their car a little closer, or a little farther away, depending on what they want, or under shelter from rain or snow. If you've got cash, here's the line for you. When you're entering the arena to go watch a basketball game, a hockey game, a baseball game, I envision there's that little special line for the people that have the extra $20 bill in their pocket or $50 bill in their pocket. And even though the employer says, we don't want to create this kind of segregation, we want everybody, whether they have a wad of cash in their pocket or not, to get the same level of customer service from our staff. That's what the employer has decided. Now, with 1146, as I read it, the employer doesn't have that right anymore. Instead, we as the General Assembly are going to be telling employers, no, it's okay for you to treat those with extra money better than those who don't have extra money. This is not, again, this is not a perfect analogy, but when I was on the audit committee, there was an issue brought up that we might not be, as a state, doing a good enough job overseeing the people that handle campgrounds in our state. Because a concern was raised from our citizens that campsites were being mysteriously marked as closed, not available. I brought up the concern of, if we're not going to provide proper oversight, what is there to stop a little cottage industry perhaps from being created that, oh, this camping site is closed, but, you know, we might be able to open it back up again for you, I suppose, maybe. Now, I appreciate the senator from Denver's comments yesterday that what we don't want to do is drift this conversation from tipping to bribing. But I spent way too much time driving in this morning wondering, what exactly is the difference, practically speaking, between a tip and a bribe? I guess the only thing I can think of is, does one involve the money coming first and the other involve the money coming in the middle or secondarily or after the fact? But it's a pretty, I think most of you, if you stop and think about it, would agree, this might be a pretty blurry line between a bribe and a tip. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with tips. When I go to a restaurant, I tip. Yeah.
Are you a 10% guy or 20%?
Yeah, we won't go that deep into the conversation. But the point being, I don't have a problem with tipped workers. I was a tipped worker for years and years and years. I was a tipped worker. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think we need to ask ourselves the question, why would an employer ask their employees not to accept tips? Why would they do that? Do they dislike their workers? Do they want to get rid of their workers and replace them with other workers? I don't think so. Not when it comes to saying we don't allow tips. My hunch is that an employer does that because they want everybody to receive the same level of customer service, whether or not their customers have a wad of cash in their pocket or not. And so I don't view this bill as necessary. Again, I haven't been here 15, 16 years like some of my colleagues, but I've been here long enough to read a lot of constituent emails and get a lot of phone calls and go to a lot of town halls, and not once has anybody stood up and said, you know what? We've got a problem in the state of Colorado in that in my job, people are throwing cash at me constantly, and My employer says I'm not able to take any of this. We need a law. We need a law that allows me to take all this money that my boss says I have to keep back in the hands of my customers. This is wrong. I don't know about you. I haven't received any of these emails. I haven't received any phone calls. If you have, it would have been great for you to come up on seconds and say, you know what, Senator, that might not be a problem in District 2, but this is absolutely a problem in my district. I don't think it is, and I think the more you stop and just deliberate on this a little bit and ask yourselves, are you ready to live in a world where those with the pockets full of cash get to jump the line in front of you, get the better service than you do? I don't think this helps our citizens. Oh, I think it helps some of our citizens. I think this law is definitely going to help some of our citizens. Those that want to get in faster, those that want to get the better service, those that have got money to tip in cash for this kind of stuff. Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about cash tips. I'd encourage you to think about this a little bit and would hope that you join me in a no vote on 1146. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1146. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Simpson, Pelton R., Pelton B., Baisley, Lundin, Will, Gardner, Smallwood, Bridges, Zenzinger, with a vote of 22 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent to excuse, House Bill 1146 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Jaquez Lewis, Winter, Cutter, Priola, will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1194?
House Bill 1194, Representatives McLaughlin and Puglisi, Senator Simpson and Janal, concerning efforts to remediate risks associated with certain closed landfills and in connection therewith, creating the Closed Landfill Remediation Grant Program and making an appropriation.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 231194 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1194. Are there any no votes? Senators Baisley, with a vote of 32 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent to excuse, House Bill 1194 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Zenzinger, Bridges, Roberts, Pelton R., Will, Kirkmeyer, Cutter, previous one. That's fine. Are there any other co-sponsors? Anybody? Oh, Priola. Anybody who would be extra eager? Pelton B. You don't want to encourage it. Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to be recorded as a co-sponsor on House Bill 1146.
Senator Danielson will be recorded as a yes, or as a co-sponsor on House Bill 1146. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1258?
House Bill 1258, Representatives Sharbini and Garcia, Senators Cutter and Priola, concerning creating a task force to study the costs associated with drug crimes and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move House Bill 23-1258 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to encourage a no vote on this. And this is from a saying that I hear a lot, that, criminals are going to be criminals and they're not going to abide by any of the laws. And I fail to see how a task force that is going to be spending money to tell us that there are criminals out there and how much it costs us to apprehend them and figure them all out is going to do any good, because it's not going to stop these criminals who are stealing copper from job sites and off of people's roofs, and it's not going to stop the drug trade, and it's not going to stop individuals who are overdosing on opioids. I think this is just something that's a feel-good piece of legislation, so that you can go home and tell people, yeah, look at me, I'm really working on this issue, and it's not going to do anything to stop drug crime and gun deaths. So I would ask for a no vote.
See no further discussion. Senator Rich. We have not started your 10 minutes yet, don't worry.
I know. Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is a bill that everybody that's listening today, that maybe if they've come home from church, ought to hear. So I ask that this bill be read at length.
Well, looks like that's what we are going to be doing. Will the clerk please read House Bill 1258 at length?
House Bill 1258, Representatives Sharbini and Garcia, Senators Cutter and Priola, concerning creating a task force to study the costs associated with drug crimes and in connection therewith making an appropriation. Be it enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Colorado, Section 1 in Colorado Revised Statutes at 25.1.5120 as follows: 25.1.5120, evaluating the costs and benefits associated with enforcement of drug laws and incarceration for drug crimes. Task force definition duty repeal. 1 is used in this section unless the context otherwise requires. A, drug crimes means the crimes described in Part 4 of Article 18 of Title 18, except those crimes that are Level 1 or Level 2 drug felony. B, task force means the evaluating the costs and benefits associated with enforcement of drug laws and incarceration for drug crimes. Task force created in subsection 2 of this section 2. There is created in the Department of the Evaluating Costs and Benefits associated with enforcement of drug laws and incarceration for drug crimes task force to study state and local government costs and benefits associated with enforcing drug laws, investigating and punishing drug crimes, and rehabilitating those convicted of drug crimes. 3, the task force members must be appointed on or before January 15, 2024. The task force consists of 9 members as follows: A, a member of the House of Representatives appointed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who is chair of the task force. B, a member of the Senate appointed by the Majority Leader of the Senate, who is the vice chair of the task force. C, a public health expert who works for a nonprofit appointed by the Executive Director of the Department of Public Health and Environment. D, a representative of district attorneys appointed by the Executive Director of the Colorado District Attorneys Council. E, a representative of Colorado Drug Investigator Association. F, 2 representatives of law enforcement, one of whom is appointed by a statewide organization representing chiefs of police, and one who is appointed by the County Sheriff's Association. G, an expert on housing and the unhoused who works for a nonprofit appointed by the State Director of Housing and the Division of Housing in the Department of Local Affairs. And H, a representative of a nonprofit organization that works on drug policy appointed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives. 4A, 1 or before March 1, 2024, the chair of the task force shall call the first meeting of the task force. During the first meeting, the task force shall establish procedures to allow members of the task force to participate in meetings remotely, develop best practices for the administration of task force meetings, and create a plan for engagement of stakeholders and experts to support and inform the task force's work. B, the task force shall meet at least 2 times between March 1, 2024 and May 1, 2024, except as otherwise provided in Section 22326. The task force members shall serve without compensation but must receive reimbursement for reasonable expenses incurred to participate in task force meetings. D, if a vacancy occurs in the task force for any reason, the original appointing authority shall appoint a person who meets the requirements of the vacant position to fill the vacancy as soon as possible after the vacancy occurs. E, upon request of the chair of the task force, the department shall provide the task force with staff assistance, meeting space, or audiovisual communication technology resources as necessary for the task force to meet the duties described in subsection 5A of this section. 5A, the task force shall consider the study conducted pursuant to section 232145, and upon approval of 2/3 of the task force make recommendations to the General Assembly regarding 1, how money saved by the reduction in drug crimes or sentencing for drug crimes could be spent to reduce substance use and dependence in Colorado, and 2, how to improve rehabilitation during supervision and incarceration for those convicted of a drug crime. B, the task force shall consult with stakeholders and experts as needed to inform discussions and to address questions necessary to finalize its findings and recommendations. 6, on or before June 1st, 2024, the task force shall submit a final report including its findings and recommendations regarding issues identified in Section 5 of this section to the Judiciary Committees of the House of Representatives extended on their successor committees. 7, this section is repealed effective January 1st, 2025. Section 2 in Colorado Revised Statutes add 232145 as follows: 232145, financial study of the costs and benefits associated with drug enforcement of drug laws and incarceration for drug crimes. Repeal 1, beginning on September 1, 2023, the Colorado School of Public Health and the Department of Public Safety shall conduct a financial study evaluating the costs and benefits associated with enforcement of drug laws and incarceration in the state. 2, the financial study must A, consider and determine state and local government costs and benefits associated with the investigation and enforcement of drug crimes. B, consider and determine the costs and benefits incurred by the Judicial Department to adjudicate drug crimes and to supervise defendants convicted of drug crimes. C, consider and determine state and local government costs and benefits associated with confinement and incarceration of individuals accused of and convicted of drug crimes, and the state costs and benefits associated with parole supervision for those convicted of drug crimes. D, determine the total state and local government costs and benefits associated with enforcement of drug laws, investigation of and punishment for drug crimes, including costs and benefits for treatment, recovery services, and being related to drug use and rehabilitation of those convicted of drug crimes. E, determine the total state and local government costs associated with drug overdose death. F, determine the total state and local government costs associated with the enforcement of drug laws, including theft crimes related to drug crimes. 3, the Colorado School of Public Health and the Department of Public Safety shall provide that financial study to the evaluating costs and benefits associated with enforcement of drug laws and incarceration for drug crimes. Task force created in Section 25.1.5120 by February 15, 2024. For this section is repealed effective July 1st, 2025. Section 2 in Colorado Revised Statute 23.3.103 add 12 as follows: 23.3.103 annual appropriations repealed. 12A, the provisions of section 1 of the section concerning appropriations for student financial assistance under this Article 3.3 do not apply to appropriations made pursuant to Section 232145 for the financial study of the costs and benefits associated with the enforcement of drug laws and incarceration for drug crimes. B, the subsection 12 is repealed effective July 1st, 2025. Section 3, appropriation 1 for the 2023-24 state fiscal year, $79,914 is appropriated to the Department of Higher Education for the use by the Regents of the University of Colorado. This appropriation is from the general fund. To implement this act, the department may use this appropriation for the enforcement of drug laws and incarceration. Actuarial study 2 for the 2023-24 state fiscal year, $16,138 is appropriated to the Department of Public Health and Environment for use by the Division of Administration and Support. This appropriation is from the general fund. To implement this act, the division may use this appropriation for operating expenses related to administration. 3 for the 2023-24 state fiscal year, $1,324 is appropriated to the Legislative Department for use by the General Assembly. This appropriation is from the general fund. To implement this act, the General Assembly may use the appropriation per diem and expense reimbursements. Section 4 acts of the petition effective date. This act takes effect at 12:01 a.m. on the day following the expiration of the 90-day period after final adjournment of the General Assembly, except that if a referendum petition is filed pursuant to Section 1, subsection 3 of Article 5 of the state Constitution against this act or an item, section, or part of this act was in such period, then the act, item, section, or part will not take effect unless approved by the people at the general election to be held in November 2024, and in such case will take effect on the date of the official declaration of the vote thereon by the governor.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1258. Are there any no votes? Senator Simpson, Van Winkle, Baisley, Pelton R., Liston, Gardner, Pelton B., Sullivan. We are on no votes for House Bill 1258. Smallwood. Will the clerk please mark Senator Pelton R. as a yes on this bill, and Senator Kirkmeyer as a no. Would anybody else like to be a no on this bill? Whether you're in the chamber or not in the chamber, the question is, would you like to be a no? on this bill that we just read at length? Lundeen. Rich. With a vote of 22 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1258 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Henriksen, will the clerk, Majority Leader Moreno?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1190 layover until later today.
The motion is to lay over House Bill 1190 to later today. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1190 will lay over. Will the clerk please add Senator Malika to the roll? Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1174?
House Bill 1174, Representatives Amabile and Brown, Senators Baisley and Roberts, concerning homeowners insurance and in connection therewith requiring certain reports related to the cost of reconstructing a home, increasing the notice requirement before an insurer can cancel or refuse to renew a homeowner's insurance policy, creating guaranteed replacement cost coverage in homeowner's insurance, and making an appropriation.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1174 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I rise in support of House Bill 1174. So this is not only to, I think, recognize the problem that we had with the last wildfire and the cost of rebuilding homes in the last wildfire, but also we talked a lot in committee on a partner bill that was coming through, or a sister bill that was coming through at the same time on this issue. So if you're thinking about voting no on this bill, what I would encourage you to consider is how much knowledge you have personally, assuming you're a homeowner or know people who are homeowners, how much knowledge do you have on the actual cost to rebuild your home and in any given year? With inflation being what it is, tight labor market, loose labor market, supply chain issues, lack of supply chain issues. There's so many factors. I think all of us intuitively have an idea what our homes are worth if you're a homeowner, but you know that includes the price of the land. And so when you get an estimate from your homeowner's insurance company or agent or broker, and they have, okay, here's what we think it'll cost to rebuild your home. We found that in markets like this, sometimes those numbers aren't even close. So to prevent the rebuilding misestimates, wrong estimates, lack of information that hundreds and hundreds of our citizens just experienced, to prevent this from happening in the future, I think this is a pretty common sense step. And would encourage your aye vote on House Bill 1174. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1174. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle. With a vote of 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1174 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Sullivan, Liston, Smallwood, Kolker, Danielson, Pelton B., Hanson, Kirkmeyer, Marchman, Cutter, Will, Gardner. Please add the president. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1220? Oh, Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1220 lay over until later today.
The motion is to lay over House Bill 1220 until later today. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and 1220 will lay over until later today. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1084?
House Bill 1084, Representatives Bradfield and Ortiz, Senators Gardner and Zenzinger, concerning the continuation of the income tax deduction for military retirement benefits.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1084 on third reading, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you. I just want to thank my co-prime sponsor for her support on this bill and for this program of the deduction for a portion of military retirement pay, and ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
See no further discussion. The motion is the adoption of House Bill 1084. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1084 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Danielson, Sullivan, Bridges, Cutter, Hawkes Lewis, Henriksen, Marchman, Kolker, Janal, Gonzalez, Majority Leader Moreno, Smallwood, Kirkmeyer, Exum, Liston, Roberts, Winter, Hanson, Pelton B, Pelton R, Simpson, Van Winkle, Will. Please add the president. Senator Hawkes Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor to House Bill 1174.
Senator Hawkes Lewis will be added as a co-sponsor on House Bill 1174. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to be recorded as a co-sponsor of House Bill 1258. Thank you.
Senator Gonzalez will be recorded as a co-sponsor on House Bill 1258. Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor to House Bill 1174 and 1084.
Senator Priola will be added as a co-sponsor on House Bill 1174 and House Bill 1084. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1200?
House Bill 1200, Representatives Ricks and Bockenfeld, Senator Mullica, concerning improved outcomes for persons with behavioral health disorders.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1200 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1200. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Baisley, Lundin, Liston. With a vote of 30 ayes, 4 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Bill 1200 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Priola, Kolker, Will, Rodriguez, Sullivan, Zenzinger, Janal, Gonzalez, Hanson, Exum. Please add the president. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we will be recessing here shortly to allow the Appropriations Committee to hold, hopefully, their final meeting of the session. And so the Chair of Appropriations will come down, make an announcement about the Appropriations Committee meeting and the bills that will be heard. After that, we will be coming back to the floor to continue through the calendar.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Appropriations Committee will meet right now across the street in LSB B, where we will be hearing, as the committee of reference, House Bill 1311, 1048, and 1066. We are the committee of reference for all three bills. Those are the only three bills remaining that we are the committee of reference for. See you soon.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry. Majority Leader, sorry, apologies. Got to read a conference committee report. Conference committee reports.
Second report of the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 16 to the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Your First Conference Committee appointed on Senate Bill 16 concerning measures to promote reductions in greenhouse gas emissions in Colorado in connection therewith, making an appropriation as met and reports that it has agreed upon the following. One, that the Senate accede to the House amendments made to the bill as the amendments appear in the re-revised bill. Two, that under the authority granted the committee to consider matters not at issue between the two houses, the following amendment be recommended. Respectfully submitted, Senate Committee, Senators Hansen, Chair, Priola, and Van Winkle. House Committee Representatives McCormick, Chair, Sirota, and Soper.
No. Shut up. Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I need to announce that the Conference Committee for House Bill 1216 will meet at 4 o'clock in House Committee Room 109. And that is all. And thank you, Mr. President. In case for those who didn't hear it, 4 p.m. in House Committee Room 109 for House Bill 1216.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand in recess until upon adjournment of the Appropriations Committee meeting.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will stand in recess until upon adjournment of the Appropriations Committee.